smoke evacuation scope as required by the Marriott Corporation in the architectural supplemental instructions for the Trade Exhibit and Event TEE Center project.
Mr. Mason, I believe this was your poll.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've had some extensive discussion on this already during the committee process. There was a young lady, I can't think of her name, that came as a representative before. Is there, do you recall, is she not?
Christine Barnes was here. The other architect's here today, I think, if you'd like to.
Good evening, my name's Emery Leonard.
Okay.
Yes, is there?
Hey, you're not Christine.
Don't do that, Joe.
Not as good looking, sorry.
Okay, let me kind of pull myself together here. My colleagues down here are. You one of the architects on the project? Is that what the deal is?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Were you here at committee?
I have been up here. I was not able to make that one particular meeting, but my associate Christina Burns was here.
Okay. Yes. All right. So the specific discussion on that day, I asked some questions in regards to meeting the standard, the state standard, and what would be the state standard in reference to the air circulation or air cycles per hour or whatever it is?
If you'd like to ask some technical questions, I do also have the mechanical engineer here with me on the job who can address probably more specific questions like those. But essentially, we began the project with a smoke control system that met the code requirements.
That met the state code requirements? Correct. Okay. At some point in time, it was brought to your attention that you should exceed that.
We also were looking at some Marriott International requests and standards, and our interpretation of their standard at the time was that we did not need to provide for the capacity that they were considering. And over the course of many months, we negotiated with them about what that capacity would be and got to this point.
What do you call this point?
The point at which we were providing 8 air changes per hour, which I guess is the technical term for how much air we need to move through that space.
Okay, well, I guess the point that I'm trying to make here is very simple. The state requirement is 2.5. We met that requirement. In my mind, if there's some additional requirements to meet that goes above and beyond what the state requires, I personally don't see how or why the city would spend the taxpayers' dollars for that. I mean, I have absolutely no problem with the Marriott spending that $390,000, $400,000, whatever it is, to put it up to whatever they say their standard is. But I just wanted to make sure initially that we met the state standard that is required, which is the 2.5, and we did that. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Lockett.
Mr. Chairman, this is, I guess, for the administrator.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Russell, I checked the documentation that was provided, and it seems to me that contract change order number 2 was signed off back in October of last year by R.W. Allen, by Harry, by Augusta Riverfront LLC, by TBS Design, and by you. Now, is that contract that you all entered into back in October, is that binding?
It's brought to you for approval. That's why I signed off on it to bring it to you. I don't have the authority to make that amount of change order. Excuse me.
Well, my next question is, this was signed off in October of 11, and now we're into February of 12. What took it so long?
We've been negotiating with Marriott International because we felt strongly that we had a good case that we would avoid the additional cost of doing the change order. I have been arguing with them since then, trying to bring that back to the point where we didn't have to go to that limit. After a fairly frustrating attempt to do that, we brought it forth to you to approve.
Was it one of those all or nothing? I mean, there was no compromise involved? I mean, since we met state requirements, but we did not meet Marriott their requirements, couldn't we have met in the middle there and saved the taxpayer a little money?
That wasn't an option that Marriott gave us at that particular point in time.
Well, then my last question is, why does Marriott have to give us the options? We are the government.
That's true, and we don't have to meet their standards, but based on our interpretation of what we did, we were okay. We argued with them, and they determined that we weren't. What we're looking for is a better quality building that moves us forward, and it also takes advantage of the Marriott's approval. With that approval, we get their marketing, we get their worldwide inclusion in their marketing rates and whatever, and in my mind, it's a fairly good point to take to move that to a higher standard and move that forward, and that's the direction that we think is appropriate, and I would recommend your approval.
Well, my last thing, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Russell, I have no qualms about voting for approval on this, but in the future, something like this, I think, should come to us in a much speedier fashion. I mean, this 4 months down the road or 3.5 months down the road, we're going to get it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Lockett. I'll recognize Commissioner Smith and then Commissioner Guilfoyle. He ran back to the back.
He can, I can't. What's up, Marriott President, over there with the airflow?
With the current facility, I believe the current facility was not built under the Marriott International brand, so it was built to a different standard.
Have there been any problems over there?
Not to my knowledge. I don't know. You might have to ask them.
Yeah, and so it's Marriott that wants this increase, right?
Marriott International, yes, the corporation.
Last time I checked in over there, I asked for a basic room, but then when I got one with a steam bath in it, the price went up. So if they want something extra, why don't they pay for it?
If I can, Mr. Mayor, it's because it's
Mr.
our
Russell.
facility.
Okay, Commissioner Guilfoyle, then Commissioner Hadney.
Yes, this is for Mr. Administrator. Fred, as far as the original design and drawing of this T Center, apparently there had to be communication set forth with Marriott as far as their standards or requirements to comply to have the flags flown on our building. Was this brought up early on?
It was part of the original discussion. We thought we were in compliance with their standards. Upon further review, there was a difference there, and that's what we've been arguing about since October. What this does allow us to do is meet their standards for a banquet hall, so you'd be able to do that as opposed to just the open space there. The money, and let me emphasize this is not additional funding for the project. The money is in the project. This simply moves it from a contingency outside the guaranteed price into the guaranteed price. And the reason that you're seeing this is because it's in addition to that, as is the other work with the fire safety stuff, the balance of the purchase.
I realize that with the franchise at Marriott, they have strict standards, and I know they don't bend easily, neither does any other franchise, because they are successful in what they do and the requirements set forth. And so we were actually asking them to move on a subject or on the air handler, knowing that they would not. And now it's set forth before us to have to push this through. What else do we have that Marriott is recommending that we're not complying with?
It's my understanding that this is the only outstanding issue at the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator.
Okay, Commissioner Hadney.
Sir, you mentioned, sir, your name's Lisa. Okay.
Emery Leonard.
So you mentioned, I believe, that initially, and it's true, that Marriott did not own the hotel. I believe it was out of some of that. What was it? Some other name. Patterson. But they took the hotel, but it didn't meet their standards. I don't quite understand why they took that whole big old hotel that didn't meet their standards. Yet they won't take. Something wrong with that picture. Whether it's international or national, it matters not to me. I don't see the difference in this. I think it's the same company. Is it the same company? National or international? Same company, isn't it?
International. my limit.
You understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
They can take the whole hotel and they don't meet their standards. Something wrong with that picture. If they want this other stuff, they need to pay for it themselves.
My understanding is that,
How can you take a whole hotel now that you gonna dictate to a government and charge them $600 or $300,000 more dollars? I just got some problem with that.
again, I was not the
I'm not
architect for
picking on
the
you. I just got
hotels.
some problem with that. If they'd have turned the hotel down, then I wouldn't have no problem now. They took the hotel.
My understanding, though, is that they don't necessarily require every hotel to be smoke exhausted as well. There is some discussion in how that's designed if they were to build a new one as well.
Commissioner Jackson.
I think this is a case that we're already pregnant and not sure what to do next. I would just like future, that it come through the administrator versus somebody that doesn't work for this government and tell me to approve it because it's a small change order. I don't have a problem. There's several questions that I had about the electrical and they've yet been answered. But like I said, we're pregnant. We have to move forward.
So is that a pregnant move to move forward? Is that a pregnant motion to move forward?
Quite a few abortions, though. I just want to know.
Commissioner Mason?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know what to say about that analogy, Joe, but that'd be one baby I wouldn't be having. We talk about, the future and doing things different in the future. We keep saying that with every situation we have coming up, but the future seems to always be the same, where there's some sort of controversial issue here. One of the things I want to make sure that I point out, because I think it's time for this government to start looking from a fiscal standpoint. I know we've got a lot of fiscal conservatives up here. If, in fact, the money's in the budget, doesn't mean you have to spend it. You save it if it's not necessary to be spent. We've used additional SPLOST monies for other projects or like projects where we can get other things done. Simply because it's there, to me, is not an excuse to say, well, let's go ahead and do it because we got the money there. We got the money there, we save it. Okay? Or the next thing that pops up, because I'm pretty sure there'll be a next thing that pops up, and we'll have some extra money there. If this is something that we do not absolutely have to do, in my opinion, we save that money, and for the next go-round of whatever may pop up, but to simply say it's in the budget, so it's okay, I think you're taking the wrong premise on that, or we're taking the wrong premise on that, and we've got to start looking at how we do business. I got money in the bank, but I'm not going to spend it just because I got it there. I'm going to spend it wisely, and I don't have a whole lot, so I'm sure enough going to spend it wisely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Smith?
When we were going through this process, were there any other alternatives checked out to see if we could, get things tighter, and what was the procedure on this upcoming?
Yes, sir. Our discussion with Marriott Corporate was that in some early discussion with them, documented discussion, they mentioned that they wanted this higher capacity because the building was connected to the hotels. And we made a point that it was not necessarily connected to the hotels, but that we were still providing a smoke exhaust system regardless, even though based on our interpretation it was not necessarily required. We still, in this type of facility, we tend to provide a smoke exhaust system.
Is there any other type system that we could economically scale down the price and kind of meet close to their standards?
I think we fought them over the course of many months to try to negotiate the size and the capacity down. We did some sketches, had numerous reviews with them, and to get their input on trying to get the scale of the upgrade down to a reasonable level.
Systems?
It's basically fans and doors the doors that are already there then open up to allow fresh air in, and the fans pull the air out from above. It's not that it's just a capacity issue and upgrading of capacity with them.
Okay, Commissioner Hatney, then Commissioner Jackson.
a twofold question. One, at what point, sir, did we realize that the Marriott was not going to accept the capacity in which we now have? At what point? Where will we be? Where were you all? Put it this way. When they told you all they weren't going to accept that, somewhere on the line, they knew, seemingly during the process of your design, what you had in what you had in there, and at what juncture, where did they decide that they needed more? It just bothers me that the government is being handcuffed by private enterprises, and they meet the state law. Something wrong with that picture. When did you all realize this? Mr. Administrator, you might can answer this. At what point did we realize this?
I think we began that negotiation back in October when we were looking at trying to move forward the project. I would not want to say specifically, but we've been negotiating with them for several months now, trying to reach an agreement that didn't cost this amount of money.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson.
You know, I started on this TEE Center project years ago thinking that it was the best for the city, and with much reservation, I would like to say, you know, I approved to move forward with this project, but, you know, I understand it's in the budget, like Commissioner Mason said. It's great, but doesn't mean you have to spend it all. And I think the more communication, even out of the retreat that we have with the administrator, you know, I don't like spending the money, but, you know, at the end of the day, if it's going to be a 50-year building and this $800,000 is going to make it a 55-year building, then I make a motion to approve.
Second. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bowles.
Sir, in your professional experience and expertise, is this something that's beneficial to have the ventilation of 8 rather than 2.5?
This is an assembly building for a large number of people, and to upgrade the capacity of keeping smoke from getting down to a level where it affects people is only a better thing.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you. I'd just like to add to the administrator. I think it would be very wise if we take prudent steps in the future to verify the cost of this, of this project. And what I mean by that is every item, of course, from this point forward, to take a look at it and make sure that we're verifying what we're doing at this point in conjunction to whatever else that may come forward, because it's not a mere fact that at this point we cannot not approve it. I mean, it's something we pretty much got to move forward because the building is there. It's about 65% finished, and we got to keep the ball rolling. But at the end of the day, this is something that I don't have a problem with doing it. I'm in construction. I understand how it works. But at the end of the day, if you can verify it and justify being able to make these prudent changes, then that's all well and good. But I do have a concern, as well as everybody else up here, when you talk about something of this magnitude being put before us, and yet we don't have any say-so on whether or not we're able to decline it or not, and the building still get completed. Again, I think we truly need to look at that and make sure that in the future we take those steps and make sure that we're able to justify and verify every inch of the cost along the way of this building and the completion of this building. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Hadley recommended 10 seconds for a moment of personal privilege.
That's all I need. I think it's high time that this commission get bold enough to stop moving forward on stuff that we are getting the facts after the fact. It's just time to stop.
Okay.
Request a roll call vote, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
I only spoke once, guys.
Commissioner Lockett.
You know, I've listened intently with all that's been said, and I do agree that it's time for us to be up front and do what's right. We are doing too many things after it's already been done, if you can do that. I think we should be strong in our government, because we're continuously being stampeded by many in the private sector. we tend to always bend and to give, but I think it's time for us to stand up and fight. I don't doubt that this might not be a good thing for the Marriott and for the city of Augusta. I don't doubt that at all. But I do doubt and don't appreciate the way it has been done. With all these change orders over months and months and months, this should have been presented to us beforehand. We should have been apprised of the fact that you were having difficulty negotiating. And I do believe, and I'm going to say it and I hope I don't have to say it again, this government needs some new negotiators. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we have a motion that's been properly seconded. A roll call vote has been requested. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Aiken?
Yes.
Mr. Bowles?
Yes.
Mr. Brigham?
Yes.
Mr. Guilfoyle? Mr. Hatney? Mr. Jackson? Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Lockett?
No.
Mr. Mason?
No.
Mr. Smith?
No.
That motion fails 5-4-1.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, if you're not
Mr. Russell.
interested in doing the exchange, you need to at least look at the other part of the program so you can continue to move forward with the building that are required by safety issues, which would be the balance of that, about $437,145. Yes, so that would include everything except the smoke evacuation system.
Mr. Mayor,
So, hang on one second. So, we would need, correct me, Mr. McKenzie, I want to go by legal procedure here, a motion to reconsider the agenda item to vote on incorporating what Mr. Russell is requesting.
I believe since the first motion failed, then you would be making a new motion, which would include different
You need
subjects.
Because the agenda item, okay. Commissioner Smith.
Could we ask these gentlemen to go back to the drawing board and see what we can do to be more cost savings or efficient, or what other avenues we can approach and put it back in committee?
Mr. Russell.
Mr. Smith, we've been to the drawing board. We've attempted to bring forth an item that brings forth the best for this government, and we've done so. There's not much other
Is there
drawing
any way I
that
can
we
look
can
at
do.
the numbers?
You can look at anything you'd like, and obviously it's all available to you. You know, we've continually brought you projects that have been well done, within budget, on time, and whatever. And, you know, it just,
We all know what budgets are. I'm kind of in the business. I'm a subcontractor, so
then you should recognize the fact that if we don't move
need a lot of
forward, we've
budgets
got a
on
lot
a
of
lot of
stuff moving
things.
aside here.
and just because you have the money sitting in the pot, you know, if there's other alternatives, that's all I'm asking.
Well,
from what I've seen, you know,
We've done the other alternatives. We've looked at that, and this is our recommendation to move forward. You know, it's not spending the money because we have it. It's spending it because the people that you've hired to make the recommendations feel it's the best way to move forward. If you don't want to do so, and that's obvious, then at this particular case, we've sort of stopped the project. And that's where we can go at the moment.
And I just want to say, you know, as a government, we've cut corners in the past. We've seen it at our jail pods. We've seen what happens when you start nickel and dime stuff. We need to build good product, as was mentioned. You know, Commissioner Guilfoyle mentioned the fact that they know what they're doing so they can market these hotels. And I think it's a short-sighted decision if we don't move forward on this for the, you know, because we've done it as a city time and again. Is there anybody who would like to make another motion on the agenda item?
I would.
Commissioner Lockett.
My motion would be to send this back to committee and give the administrator an opportunity to separate the two and give this body an opportunity to analyze them before a vote is taken.
Mr. Russell, do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Mr. Russell, there's a motion to send this back to committee. Is there a negative impact on not taking action on this today versus 2 weeks from now at the next full commission meeting?
Yes, sir. There's potential that we slow the project down totally, or you could, if you don't take action on the smoke evacuation and should take action on the other, we just don't do the smoke evacuation, and Marriott does not approve it, which is, that's a decision this body gets to make. But otherwise, if you don't do the total project and the life safety issues that are involved, you end up pretty much stopping the project the way I see it at the moment.
Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Hatney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Russell, you may not agree with what I'm saying, but what gets us in this mess is that we never get information when we should get it. We always come up with stuff at the last 30 seconds and say, let's go on and vote for it. We don't have time. Yeah, you knew somewhere along the line, way back yonder, that these folk wasn't going to accept this. I don't think it's fair that you sit there, okay, how mad you get, don't bother me at all. Because if you bring us stuff in a timely fashion, when you found out that it wasn't going to meet their standard, that's when we should have known about it before we got to where we are now. That's what have us in this mess.
Well, if I can, Mr. Mayor, it's been on the agenda for 2 times through the cycle, and we've talked about it last week. We talked about it the week before. It was referred back, and you've had knowledge of it for about 4 weeks now. Yeah, that's sort of the way it works.
And no, sir, because I've recognized you more than twice.
Call for a question, Mr. Mayor.
The question has been called for. No, sir, you've been recognized. No, sir. And with all due respect, the question has been called for. The motion has been made and properly seconded to refer this back to committee. Commissioners will now vote by the usual sign of voting.
The motion carries 6-4, with Mr. Aiken voting no, Mr. Bowles, Mr. Mason, and Mr. Brigham.